Hello students, welcome to my online English class and which is arranged by Child Care School and College, and I am MD Ashique Islam here with you all the way. So today the topic we are going to discuss is Standard Tense English second paper, and the topic would be narration, especially of assertive sentences. So to understand narration, what you need to do is first understand a few little idea which I'm gonna give you right now. So first we need to understand what is narration. So narration is actually to describe an event or narrate an event. So usually on our daily lives we see a lot of things going on around us. So suppose in the morning you wake up and you see something that is going on around you, and you go to your school and you tell your friends that you have seen this in your house. So what you're doing is you're narrating the event. So the word narration originates from the word to narrate. Let's write it over here. And by the way, it's a verb, and narration is the noun form of the verb to narrate. So what you have done is you went to the school and you described the event to your friend, and when you're describing your event to your friend, you are being the narrator. Well, so to understand narration a bit more deeply, let's go and see an example that I have written down here, which says Jim, which is a person, Jim said to Phil, "I feel great today." So Jim is actually the speaker of the speech. Jim is the person who is speaking, and Phil is the person who is listening, or who is the person spoken to. So Jim said to Phil. Here the most important part that you should focus on is said. Why? Because this is what we call the reporting verb, and this verb is directly referring to this speech that is spoken by Jim. So this speech is called the reported speech, and they are somehow related. Reporting verb and reported speech are related to each other, and how they're related, we are just gonna come to that point a little bit later. So the speaker Jim is speaking to the person spoken to, which is Phil in this case, and right here he is saying something to him, and that is, "I feel great today." So said, that's the reporting verb. And when it comes to reporting verb, you really should focus, because reporting verb is the thing that matters most, because the reported speech depends totally on the reporting verb. So most important thing is, when a person is speaking and describing an event, he might speak in two ways, that is in an indirect speech or a direct speech. Well, here what we see is a direct speech. This one is called a direct speech because we have quoted the exact speech delivered by Jim. Alright? And to keep his speech separated from the whole sentence and to make it look like it's being quoted, we use a quotation mark. So these symbols are called, punctuation marks are called quotation mark, or sometimes also called inverted comma. Don't get confused, they are pretty much the same thing. And usually how you recognize a quotation mark is, in some books you will see them like this, which I call 66 and 99, almost like a bracket. Like a bracket has an opening and an end. Just like that, this quotation mark has an opening and end. But nowadays in some books, the person who types it, the book, they use a quotation mark that actually doesn't really look like a 66 and a 99. They usually look just like two marks. That's it. So by the way, you can actually understand it easily. It's not that of a difficult job. So Jim said to Phil, "I feel great today." So here what we are gonna do is, since the reporting verb is in past tense, like that, we are gonna change the whole reported speech into past tense when we speak in an indirect speech. And when we are going to use indirect speech, we are actually going to say the whole thing in our own way. So that's the two ways we speak about an event. We sometimes quote the direct speech of the person. That's why this kind of sentences are called direct speech. And sometimes we say it in our own language, and that is called indirect speech. So our job is to change the direct speech into indirect. Mostly that's what we are gonna do. Very rarely in class 10 you will find speech that is indirect and you will have to change it to direct. That would happen very rarely. So there are some few things that we really need to keep in mind when we are doing the changing from direct to indirect. So if the reporting verb is in present tense or future tense, the tense of the reported speech will be as it is, or else it will take the past form. So if the reporting verb is in present tense, like I have written down here in an example sentence, Danny says to John, I'm hungry. So here the reporting verb is in present tense, which means Danny kind of like says this to John almost every day or most of the times. So Danny says to John, I am hungry. Or it could have been Danny will say to John, I'm hungry. That means he hasn't said it yet, but he's gonna say it very soon, or maybe we are guessing that he's gonna say it. So if he says it, the reported speech is still gonna stay the same, because since the reporting verb is in present or future tense, it doesn't really have any effect on the reported speech. The only thing we are gonna have to change is the person will change according to our speech or according to our indirect narration. So, and the rest of the examples are written in a way that the reporting verbs are in past tense. So, let's come back to the important stuff that I've written down here and discuss a little bit further. So, if the reporting verb is in present tense and future tense, you've understood it already. And if the reporting verb is in past tense, which is I have written it like or else, it will take the past form. So if the reporting verb is in past tense, the whole reported speech will take a step back, which means it will go a little bit past, depending on its previous tense. We will have to look at the verb and think that what tense the verb is in. Well, we're going to that part later. And one more important thing to keep in mind is that the indirect speech should always be in assertive sentence. Well, whenever we are quoting somebody else's speech in our own language, we really don't speak the way they speak. We speak it in our own way, and which is most of the times is in assertive sentence. Yeah, so doesn't matter the lesson is about assertive sentence or interrogative, doesn't matter what kind of lesson comes up next about narration, we are always going to change from direct to indirect in the assertive form. So let's jump into the exercise and let me show you how we can solve these written exercises. So Danny says to John, I'm hungry. So we know that the reporting verb is in present or maybe future. Both are pretty much same in this case. So the answer would be Danny says, we're not going to have to change anything about that, says to John that. Now, you got to think that who is actually the person I? Well, basically, Danny is the person who is the speaker. He's speaking it, so it's definitely him. So we are going to use, since Danny is a boy or a man, I'm going to use the pronoun he. If you can, you may wish to write the initial of his name in a bracket. That will help the listener or the observer understand a bit better. So Danny says to John that he. Now, here comes the important part. Am is the verb or the auxiliary verb. So Danny says to John, I'm hungry. So he is saying it to John at a point of some time. So when I'm expressing it in my own language, I'm going to take this auxiliary verb and change it according to the person right here. So for he, we are not going to use am because am doesn't go with he. We're going to use is. He is. And the rest of the sentence. So here we have our answer. Danny says to John that he is hungry. Now, the point to be noted is that because of the reporting verb, we haven't changed anything about the tense of the verb here in the reported speech. And it is pretty much the same, and am, is, both are pretty much the same. They have just changed person-wise, but their tenses have not changed. So, now let's jump into the next exercise, that is Jacob, a person, or the speaker here, said to Ricky, I'm busy today. So, when I try to change this direct speech into indirect, I'm going to write Jacob said to Ricky. It's not necessary that we have to change it into told or something, but we're going to have to change it when it comes to interrogative or imperative, which is still further ahead. So, Jacob said to Ricky. Now, let's think about this pronoun I. Now, who is this person I? You know it already, isn't it? It's Jacob, the speaker. So, since Jacob is a man, I'm going to use the pronoun he and also write the initial of his first name. Or you can actually skip this part, it's not that really important. So, Jacob said to Ricky, he. Now, this auxiliary verb, am. So, for he, we are going to use he is, because for I, the auxiliary verb would be am. So, for just the vice versa, for he, we are going to use is. But the point to be noted is the reporting verb is in the past tense, isn't it? Just have a look. It's not in present, rather it's in past. So since the reporting verb is in past tense, the reported speech is gonna take the effect of the reporting verb, because the time Jacob said to Ricky, it has already become past, and when we were discussing about it, it has already gone further past. So the present tense of the reporting speech, is gonna become past tense, right? Because it's gonna take a step back. So he. And for he, we have the verb is, and the past form of is was, so we're going to write was. Jacob said to Ricky, he was busy today. But are we going to really write today? That's the matter. Jacob said to Ricky, I'm busy today. Now, for Jacob, that day could be today. But when we are discussing or we are telling it to somebody else in indirect form, it might not be the same day. So it would be wise to write that day, since for us the today could not be actually a today, it could be a different day, so we're going to use that day. So, and the next example here we have Jane said to Lima, you look very tired now. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the reporting verb actually. So the reporting verb is in the past form, so you know what to do now. Since the reporting verb is in the past form, we're going to take the whole sentence a step back or a step to the past. So the main verb of the reported speech is already in the present tense. We're going to take it just to the past tense. Okay, so Jane said to Lima. Now let's think about the pronoun you. Who is actually the person you? Since the speaker is Jane, she is talking to the person Lima. So she is referring Lima as you. So this you is actually Lima. That Lima is a female, so I'm gonna write she and also use her initial in the bracket. Jane said to Lima that she. Now let's think about the verb. The verb is in the present form, and the reporting verb is in the past, so that means the main verb of the reported speech should also be in the past form. So look is in the present indefinite. I'm going to take it to past indefinite, and that is look becomes looked. She looked very tired. Now we have a word that is now, and which refers to the present moment when they were having the conversation. So for me or for us, this moment might not exactly be now. So what we're going to do is, from their point of view, it could be now, but for our point of view, it would be then. I think I missed out a word over here. So That's it. There we have our assertive sentences and example sentences with their answers. So Jane said to Lima that she looked very tired then. So that's how we change the direct speech into indirect. So there we have it. You can copy it down on your exercise book. Or take a screenshot maybe. So now I'm going to show you two more examples with sentences that has past form or past sentences in the reported speech. So let's write down. Here the speaker is John, who is speaking to the person spoken to, which is William. So John said to William, I was busy yesterday. Well, right now we have a verb which is in the past form. And the reporting verb is in the past too, so which means we have to take it a step back or a step further to the past. Oh, sorry, a step back to the past. So I'm gonna write, John said to William that. Now, the person I is actually the speaker John, since he's the person who's speaking, so that he, since it's a male, I'm going to use his initial, he, or which is John, he was busy. Now let's think about the verb was. It's already in the past form. So when John was saying this to William, he was already busy a day before, or he had been busy a day before. So when I'm speaking this to somebody else in an indirect form, the tense or the time has already gone further back to the past. So that's why I'm gonna take this past tense into further past. And you should always remember the past indefinite tense, when you change it to further past, it becomes past perfect. So John said to William that he was busy. So if we want to take this past tense to past perfect, we are going to use, obviously there has to be a had, since that's the basic form of the past perfect tense, had, and the past participle of the main verb. So here in this case, was is the main verb for us, so the past participle form of was is been. So John said to William that he had been busy. Now let's talk about yesterday. For John it could be yesterday, but for us it might not be a yesterday. It is the previous day, because we might be talking about it in a different day. Previous day. So John said to William that he had been busy the previous day. Okay, so let's just have a look at another example. So here we have Mr. Robin talking to Tanvir. Robin said to Tanvir, I saw a bird. So in this case, the verb is already in the past form and you know what to do. So let's see how we can solve it. So I'm going to write Robin said to Tanvir that. Now we know that The person who is saying I is obviously Robin, so I'm gonna write he and also his initial. Robin said to Tanvir that he saw. Now let's think about saw. At the time Robin said this to Tanvir, he said it, that means he already said it in the past, that he had seen a bird, which happened even further back. So I'm gonna take this past form of the verb to past participle and make it past perfect. So before that I'm gonna put a had, because that's in the structure, and then use the past participle of the verb, which is seen. So Robin said to Tanvi that he had seen a bird. That's it. That's how easy all these exercises are. One more example, and that will pretty much solve all the problem, hopefully. So Jake said to Mike, I have been waiting for 2 hours. In this case, Jake is the speaker, so I'm going to write Jake. I'm going to put down everything pretty much the way it is. Say to Mike that. Now, the person I is Jake, so I'm going to write he since it's a male and also use his initial. He, now, here, I have been waiting. You know what tense it is. It's present perfect continuous. So when it's present perfect continuous, you just take it a step back and it becomes past perfect continuous. Pretty much exactly the same as present indefinite to past indefinite. So the only change that occurs here is have becomes had. Other than everything remains pretty much the same. So he had been waiting for 2 hours. So that's pretty much it. If there is anything else that you need to know, comment me and I'm gonna try to help explain in the best way possible for me. So that's all for today and I will see you on the next video. Until then, keep practicing and keep posting me updates. Thank you. Thanks for watching.